The story of fracking in Denton, like other towns and cities, is about a clash between the production of commodities and the protection of communities. The industry and state regulators see Denton as an energy resource. The citizens who live here see it as their home. The city of Denton has attempted to reconcile these competing interests through a regulatory approach that I call the compatibility strategy. This is an attempt to make the production of minerals compatible with broader values like the health, safety, and integrity of our community. In this video, I explain this compatibility strategy and I show why it has failed. To understand the compatibility strategy, we need to turn to the Denton Development Code, the rules that govern land use in the city. This code defines gas wells as industrial land uses, yet it further specifies that gas wells can be permitted in any land use category, including residential, through the issuance of a specific use permit, an SUP. Subchapter 6 shows the criteria that must be met in order for gas wells to be allowed in non-industrial zones. The idea is that with the appropriate standards in place, fracking can be made compatible with any surrounding area. Subchapter 5 has a chart describing what kinds of land uses can be permitted in residential neighborhoods. Relatively innocuous things like a hotel, a motel, a movie theater, or a bakery are prohibited in residential areas. But gas wells are allowed in residential areas, despite the fact that they attract heavy truck traffic, create pollution, and are prone to spills and blowouts. L27 here means that the gas wells can be in residential areas as long as they comply with Subchapter 22, which is Denton's Gas Well Drilling and Production Ordinance. And the purpose of that ordinance is, quote, to ensure that gas well drilling and production activities are compatible with adjacent land uses, end quote. Okay, so if this is the compatibility strategy, what do I mean by its failure? I mean the goal of compatibility is unachievable. Now imagine there actually is some set of standards that exist that could make fracking compatible with neighborhoods, say some combination of sufficient setback distances with best available technologies for reducing pollution. Denton did not get those standards, in part because the task force that advised the drafting of the new ordinance was stacked with members of the oil and gas industry. One particularly problematic loophole they kept in the ordinance allows new homes to be built as close as 250 feet from existing gas wells. They may have assumed developers would notify homeowners so they can understand the risks posed by nearby industrial sites, but the fact is that people do not receive full disclosure about the presence of fracking in their new neighborhoods. People in this neighborhood have told me that they would not have bought their homes or would have paid much less had they known the fracking onslaught that was about to hit them. This is going to happen again and again in Denton's future, and the unsuspecting folks buying these homes will not own the mineral rights, which is the subject of another shale gas short. But it's worse than that. Even if we got a better task force and wrote better rules into our ordinance, they would not apply to the existing gas wells. Why? Because they are almost all vested under older regulations, thanks to rules in this code. We'd only be closing the barn doors after all the cows already got out. This highlights the biggest reason compatibility is unachievable, namely systematic legal biases that favor the industry. The top executive of one fracking company recently dropped this Texas Commission on Environmental Quality report off at my office. It shows that people in one neighborhood surrounded by fracking operations lodged 54 air quality and health complaints. TCEQ, however, documented no violations. I think the industry executive wanted to prove their innocence. But the only thing this proves is just how obnoxious the process is. Are they proud of garnering 54 complaints? And it proves just how difficult it is to even slap the industry on the wrist with a violation. Here's an example of how lenient the laws are on the industry. Listen to this blowout that occurred last April in Denton. This went on for 14 hours. Nearby residents had to be evacuated, and the event released nearly 1,300 pounds of VOCs as this geyser spewed upwards of 6 million gallons of liquids laced with toxic fracking chemicals into the environment. Yet the TCEQ report for this incident concluded there were no violations, so even a major blowout is perfectly legal. Is it any wonder the citizens of Denton are calling for an end to a practice that can be this dangerous with absolute impunity under the current legal system? The severance of the estates is another systematic legal problem. We allow gas wells, but not hotels in residential areas, because we are dealing with the mineral rather than the surface estate. If the owner of a surface property is told she can't build a hotel there, she can still build lots of other things. There are many possible uses. When it comes to mineral properties, however, there is only one possible use: extract the minerals. And the law allows this subsurface use to trump other uses to the extent that surface property owners are often rendered nearly powerless to control what happens on and around their land. Here's the result of the compatibility strategy: flaring, flowback, and fumes within 250 feet of homes. And this will happen again and again if we continue to follow this strategy. You can either have fracking or a healthy city. You can't have both. It's time for a change. It's time for a frack-free Denton.